What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show tonight. It's February 1st, so happy February. We're going to be doing a 7-round Green Bay Packers 2024 mock draft. This will be my first mock draft video of the year. I'm going to try and maybe do one, maybe 2 in February, 2 in March, and then 2 in April, something like that. So we'll get up to 5 or 6 mock drafts by the end of it. But essentially, we're just going to fire up the PFF mock draft simulator and we'll go through all 7 rounds. Now, I'm not like a scout. I'm not like a super big football brain or anything like that. I'm a person that plays a lot of fantasy football. If you're new to the channel, I primarily do fantasy football videos, but my team is the Packers, and I want to just mock draft them a little bit. And this is a way for me to kind of get the feel of the board and know who's going where and what to expect. So with that being said, let's hop into it. And yeah, we're just going to have fun. That's what the whole point of this is. Not going to be too serious, a little serious, but we're just going to have fun with it. So before I start, though, before we get into the actual simulator, I do want to pull up the Packers depth chart and let's just talk about some the positional strengths and weaknesses of this roster. I think, a year ago, you might have said receiver was one of the biggest weaknesses, but all of a sudden that looks pretty strong with guys like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. I still like Malik Heath and Bo Melton. I think we could maybe upgrade a 5th or 6th receiver, but I don't think it's a pressing need. Maybe a guy on day 3 makes a little bit of sense there. I'm not opposed to drafting one high too to kind of push Christian Watson. If he's not going to be able to take care of his hamstrings, maybe we gotta take another 2nd or 3rd round receiver and say, hey, like if you can't keep up, you're going to get passed up here. So I like Dobbs, I like Reed, I like Dontavian Wicks. Very bright future for this young receiver group. Offensive lineman. Now, John Runyon is the only, unrestricted free agent. We'll see about him. I think we want to improve the right guard spot. Going into the season, I don't know what's going on with David Bakhtiari, so left tackle is a pretty big need. Now, Rasheed Walker, he didn't grade out amazingly well, but he did improve throughout the year, and he's a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. So worst case scenario, he's your starter, but I would like to give him some competition at left tackle. Elgton's locked in at left guard. Josh Myers actually improved over the year too. I thought this offensive line kind of gelled, and they all played better as a unit down the stretch. And we've obviously invested a 2nd-round pick in Josh Myers a couple years ago. He really hasn't panned out, on the best end of the spectrum that we were hoping for, but he improved this year. So I think he's the starting center week 1 here. So you have starting left guard, starting center. We need to upgrade that right guard spot. And then honestly, I think Zach Tom is kind of locked into the right tackle spot. I think he earned it. So we have 3 out of 5 spots on offensive line that are, to me, seem all but locked up. Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft at tight end. We're not really drafting a tight end early. If we do, we grab one for special teams late. Obviously, Jordan Love, Sean Clifford, good to go at QB. Running back, Aaron Jones. And then you have A.J. Dillon. Don't know what's going on with him. I don't really want to bring him back for a lot of money. I'm open to drafting. We can draft an early running back, round 2, round 3, round 4, something like that. Aaron Jones, I think he's got maybe 1 more year in his deal. So I do want to get some running back depth added to this team. Overall, though, the offense seems pretty fun. This team gelled. They got better as the season went on. Left tackle, right guard, running back. That's kind of what we're looking for on offense here. On defense, now we just signed the new defensive coordinator here, and they don't have there we go, Jeff Hafley here out of, I think, Boston College. So I'm excited about this. Maybe we get him some pieces in this draft here to kind of make his set his board as he wishes. Now left, they're listing Kenny Clark as a left DE. That's fine here. We kind of rotate all 3 of these guys here. So Clark, Slayton, and Devontae Wyatt, Colby Wooden, and Carl Brooks in the depth areas. I want to improve on the defensive line. I think Wyatt, he played a little bit better this year. He was more active, and I think he just missed a few games from injury. But I do want to add some strength to this defensive line. Kenny Clark's not getting any younger. Slayton and Wyatt, let's add someone to compete with these guys here. So I want to add, one interior defensive lineman. Now, outside linebacker. Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith, and then I don't know if Enagbare is going to be ready to play this year. I believe he hurt himself pretty bad. I want to just double check that injury real quick because I don't know if we're going to be expecting him to be available this year. Let me see the news here. Injury. Let's see real quick here. It's not showing up anywhere. Yeah, it was a season-ending ACL injury. I'm going to expect him not to play much and be much of all. So we really only have 3 pass rushers: Van Ness, Gary, Preston Smith. So we're going to add a pass rusher or 2 in this draft here. Now, our linebackers, Devondre Campbell's getting up there in age. Quay Walker is fine. Isaiah McDuffie actually played pretty well as a 6th-round pick. So I'm not opposed to drafting a potential Devondre Campbell replacement, just another backup linebacker. Now, cornerback, we have hopefully a healthy Eric Stokes. We have Jair Alexander, our top 2 corners. Valentine played well enough, I thought, this season to stick around, and he's a quality number 3, number 4 corner. Same with Valentine. I like these guys as their depth, but I really want a true, number 3. I don't think Valentine and Valentine are worth, being your 3rd best corner. So I'd like to upgrade there. Keyshawn Nixon in the slot, that's fine. Hopefully we can bring him back. Otherwise, free agency happens for the draft. So we'll get some answers here. But clearly, look at all the orange in the secondary. At safety, Rudy Ford, Darnell Savage, Jonathan Owens, Anthony Johnson Jr., Benny Sapp, and Zane Anderson. Don't know what's going to happen here. Don't know if we're going to resign any of these guys here. I thought they all played well in spurts. I don't know if there's one guy that makes sense for money. But obviously, I think the plan is to retain 1 or 2 of these guys and then attack safety in the draft. So I think we've kind of laid it out. Safety appears to be one of the biggest needs on this team. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this draft started. And again, we're going to go to PFF here. I'm going to go to 7 rounds. We'll click on the Packers. And you know what? I'm not really going to make any trades. I think I'm just going to play this straight up for now and have some fun with it. So let's hit start the draft, and it's going to simulate for us. We can look at that later at the end. But we're just going to make our own picks and go from here. So pick number 25, we're on the board. Oregon, Bo Nix, Jackson Powers Johnson, and Troy Franklin all sitting at the board here. So interesting. And Michael Penix Jr. as well. Players we just missed out on, starting at, I guess, the Steelers, or actually the edge out of UCLA might have been an option on our board as well, as we do need pass rusher. But Brian Thomas, LSU wide receiver, Nate Wiggins, the Clemson corner, Jordan Morgan, the left tackle out of Arizona, Amarius Mims, I think he's a right tackle out of Georgia, and then Ennis Rakestraw Jr., I'm seeing him move up boards, goes to Dallas. So what is PFF saying is the best available here? Bo Nix, we're not taking Bo Nix, we're not taking a center, we're not taking a receiver, we're not taking Penix Jr. So the best players available here look like Byron Murphy, Quinion Mitchell, Kamari Lassiter, the corner, Tyler Guyton, the Oklahoma tackle, Chris Broswell here out of Alabama. There's really no safeties. I think we're going to get left out to dry here at safety in the first round. I think there's a couple guys that I like. I don't know if there's any first round talent safeties, but it's close. Let me actually just look at the safeties individually here. So you got a couple guys, Tyler Nubin and Cam Kitchens. I know a lot of people like both of these guys. So I'm going to probably do a draft where I draft one of these safeties here, but I'm going to probably wait and see what I can get rounds 2 or 3, because it looks like there's a couple guys here. So with that being said, I think I'm just going to take the best defensive player on the board. And again, I mentioned wanting to get somebody on the defensive line that can help Kenny Clark. We haven't seen it consistently from Devontae Wyatt or TJ Slayton. And I think Byron Murphy is the guy. He's had really good PFF grades. He's improved in each of his 3 seasons. He's basically a 3-year starter here. 6 sacks last year, 36 hurries, and 3 QB hits. Now, he primarily lined up in the B gap, but he plays a decent amount of A gap, so he can kind of rotate along there. He fits that versatility factor that the Packers like. We'll see about his RAS score. But overall, pass rush grades a 91, run defense grades an 80. He played some really good ball here in 2023, and I think that's going to be my pick. We're going to improve the defensive line, and we'll move on to the next pick. All righty. Round 2, we pick number 41, and, we can kind of go whatever we want here. I don't think the Packers are in a position where we need to draft a certain position at any point. And basically they're saying Zach Frazier from West Virginia, the center, Kieran Omega-Dij, I don't know how to say that, from Yale here, the tackle, Chris Jenkins, defensive line, Jermaine Burton, Alabama, Graham Barton from Duke, Chop Robinson's a fun defensive edge rusher here. He's played great the last 2 seasons. Only 3 sacks and 5 sacks. He primarily lines outside the tackle. Not sure why he wasn't as productive in the sack department, but he does get hurries. He played pretty well. So Chop Robinson's just a fun name to say as well. So maybe we look at edge here. Let's look at Kieran, the tackle from Yale. This is a guy that played left tackle, last 2 seasons, and then he played left guard in 2021. So he checks that versatility box that the Packers look for. He only played 4 games last year, so I'm not sure if he was hurt or what happened. But you're basically looking at what would have been a 3-year starter here. He didn't give up any sacks in the last 2 seasons and only one in his career here. He's got a run block grade about 79 and a pass blocking grade. So he's kind of just like a steady guy that could be our left tackle. The other tackle here, Graham Barton, not the best grade last year of his career. He had an 88 in 2022. Purely a left tackle here, 71 run block, 78 pass block grade here. In the ACC, I don't know how great of a conference good of pass rushers he was going here, but he did allow a few sacks, 2, 2, and 6. I guess I would go definitely with Kieran over Graham Barton here, just looking off these numbers. Now, what else can we do? I really like this Patrick Paul. The Packers do have we do have pick number 57, so maybe we can look at tackle coming up here. This is a guy that I like a lot. He's purely a left tackle. He played there 3 straight years, a lot of snaps. Look at the pass block grade, 91.5. Run block grade's about a 70. That's something that I think the Packers would be interested in. And then I don't know why they have Tyler Nubin ranked so low. He's got a rank of 51. But this is kind of why I wanted to wait for safety round 2. I think we're going to like what we got here. You have Tyler Nubin and Cameron Kitchens both available. If we open up the numbers here, Cam Kitchens actually has a higher ADP. Didn't have a great grade last year, about 68, 90 in 2022, 69 in 2021. He's a guy that lines up all over the place. You can go deep, box, slot, a little bit of D-line, blitzing capabilities here, and then corner a little bit here. So I like the versatility. Yeah, that fits, I think, what the Packers are going to want to do. I don't see any interceptions numbers on this list here, but overall, I think he's a strong player. He's got kind of poor rankings, though, 65 and 69 in the coverage and the run defense here. That's just from 2023. So I'm open to Cameron Kitchens for sure. He's a 6 foot, 205 pound safety, and I think he's kind of like a hybrid guy where he can kind of move around, and who knows, maybe he's even a slot corner. But I think this is the guy that I'm really starting to come around. And this is Tyler Nubin, the safety out of Minnesota, 6'2", 210. So he's a little bit bigger than Cam Kitchens. And he lines up deep, box, slot. He kind of does it all as well. And he played some really good ball. He had some really good games. The first game against Nebraska was lights out. Didn't have his best game, down the stretch here. But overall, I think you're looking at a 3-year starter that can do a lot of fun things here. And I think that's probably where I'm going to go. I'm going to go and I'm going to do more research on these two guys to figure out which one I'm really dialed into. But drafting a safety here, round 2, really makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what we're going to do. Tyler Nubin, Minnesota safety. Our other pick in the second round here, they're listing Jonathan Brooks, the running back, as the top player available. I did mention I want to get a tackle. And they're starting to show that this Kingsley Suamataia from BYU is looking like an interesting player here. Left tackle in 2023, right tackle in 2022. I like the versatility here. Only 2 sacks allowed. Really poor run blocking grades, though. He's a pretty good pass blocker, but those run block grades look a little fishy. 6'6", 315 pounds. So maybe he's a guy that could be a depth piece, but I'm not sure I'm in love with it. Let me see what other names here. We could just take the running back, Jonathan Brooks here. He's kind of the consensus RB1 right now. Fantastic year last year, 1,100 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and he can catch. He only did that for 1 year, but he can catch 25 receptions on 29 targets. Really fun player. If you haven't had a chance to watch Jonathan Brooks yet, go ahead and do some Google or some YouTube searches and find him. They are listing Makai Wingo, defensive lineman out of LSU, Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Here's a cornerback, DJ James from Auburn here. This is a pretty productive 3-year starter out of Auburn, primarily an outside corner. 2 interceptions last year, 5 total in his career. He scores touchdowns. He's got 6 career touchdowns, which I like quite a bit. And look at the amount of receptions allowed here. So 32 receptions on 52 targets. 2022, he was pretty lights out, only 24 receptions on 59 targets. So I kind of like this. This is roughly, a 60% completion. Yeah, the 60% completion against him is not terrible. He did allow his worst passer rating last year. So I'm not sure what's up with DJ James. I'm not seeing any edge rushers available here. Jeremiah Trotter, the linebacker. Don't know if I want to go with that. Here's another safety. If we wanted to wait, we could maybe look at the USC safety, Kalen Bullock. This is a guy that lines up all over, a lot of slot reps last year. Not a good run defender, but good coverage grades here, 6'3", 190. So what do you do here? This is kind of a luxury pick here. I think you go with the running back, man. I think you take Jonathan Brooks, bye-bye A.J. Dillon, and this is the guy for the future here. So we're going to grab the running back, Jonathan Brooks. That might have been the first running back off the board. But anyways, we're running on 15 minutes deep here. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit and make sure we can get through a little bit quicker. So we got a running back, we got a defensive lineman, and a safety. I actually filled 3 of our needs here listed on PFF's site, and now I want to tackle. I don't know if there's one that makes sense here for us. I'm not seeing one on the best available positions here, but they're saying Michigan cornerback here, linebacker from Notre Dame, another safety here, a guard makes a lot of sense if we want a right guard here. This is the guy that played right guard all last year, right guard in 2021. I'm not sure what happened in 2022. But solid run blocker and really good pass blocker. Only 1 sack allowed. I think this guy from Boston College, and hey, we just got the defensive, our new defensive coordinator just came from there. So maybe Christian Mahogany is a guy that we look at here as the right guard, a starting right guard here, round 3. I'm not opposed to it. Not sure what's up with Mike Sainristil here. He is a 2-year starter, pretty good grades in those 2 starting years. He's got 5 career touchdowns, 7 career interceptions, a nice 58 completion percentage against him. He's primarily a slot corner, which I guess if we let Keyshawn Nixon go, this might be something of interest here. So we'll file that name away. Now, I'm not sure what is the best thing to do here. If we wanted to wait, we could have waited for Blake Corum here, the running back here. I don't think we go with a receiver here. Let's look at the best edge rusher available. Marshawn Kneeland here had a solid grade last year, but not a very productive player. Only 12 career sacks in 3 seasons, primarily an outside edge rusher here. But look at the run defense grade. I like seeing that. A lot of hurries, and very, very solid pass rush and run defense. I don't know if he's a guy that's going to be on the radar, but let's look at this other edge rusher, Austin Booker here. 9 sacks from Kansas last year. Pretty solid in both run and pass. I like the idea of an edge rusher here, but I'm not sure we need it. So I'm a little bit conflicted here. I really like Christian Mahogany here. So I'm going to grab the right guard. And then we do have another pick right away. Round 3, we do have 2 picks. Pick number 91, so we get 2 swings at it. If I didn't take the running back earlier, this looks like a really good spot for a running back here. But I do want to take a look at these cornerbacks. We already looked at the Mike Sainristil from Michigan. Let's look at Jarrian Jones out of Florida State, and I think you're going to like it. Now, he's only got 5 career interceptions. He did have 5 touchdowns back in 2021, but this is looking pretty good. He lined up mostly in the slot last year. Otherwise, he did play primarily corner in 2022 and 2021. 50% completion percentage, man. People don't really throw the ball a lot on him, and I like that quite a bit. Look at the yards. Hardly any yards given up on him, mostly his freshman season. But these passer ratings, 25 and 42, that looks pretty good. He didn't drop any interceptions, forced incompletions 3, some coverage stops, average depth of target. Like, this looks pretty good. I think I'm interested here. He's 6 foot 191. I don't know if he's going to pass our height and weight requirements here, but I do like what I see here. Let's just take a peek here at the Missouri corner, Chris Abrams-Draine. This is the guy that lined up mostly in the corner, but he can do kind of everything. 47% completion rate. Pretty poor against the run, but his coverage is looking really, really good. I like that 47 completion percentage. 5'11", 178, so he's a little bit smaller. But either way, I think this is lining up for the Packers to take a corner to be a potential starter, whether it's Sainristil out of Michigan, who I'm fine with. I'm not in love with him. I think he's a versatile guy that could be a lot of fun, but he did give up a 58% completion rate. I don't love that. So I'm just going to go with Jarrian Jones here. I think everyone's kind of on play that we talked about here, but I'm going to pencil in cornerback here, round 3. Moving on to round 4, pick 125. We've answered running backs, defensive line, and safety. We need a tackle. What about this Notre Dame Blake Fisher character here? He's got an okay run block of 70 roughly and a pass block of 72. Primarily a right tackle. So I don't know if he's going to be versatile enough for the Packers to put at the left tackle position. Typically, I like taking a left tackle a little bit higher, but I'm not opposed to taking one here. The Texas tackle here, Christian Jones, another primarily right tackle the last 2 years, but he did play a little bit of left tackle. It was his worst graded season. So maybe tackle's not the best idea to wait on. Braylon Allen, if we wanted to wait on running back, I'm open to that. Looking around at some more of these tackles, it looks like we might have missed the well on left tackle here, although this Oklahoma one looks pretty good here. 3-year starter at left tackle here. 0 sacks allowed last year on almost 858 snaps. So interested there a little bit. I don't know if I want to pull the trigger. We're picking at 125. Maybe this Walter Roos here is intriguing. I'm passing up a lot of players here. Running back Ray Davis, Blake Fisher, Notre Dame, another defensive lineman, a couple Clemson edge rusher here, Xavier Thomas. Let's see what we can do. Not a lot of sacks in his career, but he did get a lot of hurries. I like that. He's pretty good against the pass rush and the run defense. So I think that's interesting. Not sure what happened in 2022. Maybe he got hurt. But you're looking at a guy that was highly productive in his freshman season, very productive in his junior year as well. I'm kind of open to this one. This one looks like a lot of fun to bring in that fourth edge rusher for the Packers. Let's just look at Gabriel Murphy here. This is a guy that had a pretty productive 3-year career as well. A lot of hurries, a lot of hits, and a good amount of sacks. This one looks pretty fun. I think I'm going to go with Gabriel Murphy here, the edge rusher. And I know I keep pushing tackle down, but worst case scenario, I mean, Rasheed Walker played okay, and we could maybe find another left tackle to compete with him in training camp here. So I'm going to go edge rusher here, Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. And then we got a little bit of a wait here. We have a comp pick in the 4th round, pick number 135. And hey, I got my tackle to fall, Christian Jones. He's got 3 years of starting eligibility. He played right tackle the last 2 seasons, left tackle his freshman year. I mentioned he didn't play as great that freshman year, but again, he's a young freshman. But overall, this is a guy that played a lot of snaps at right tackle. Only 4 sacks in the last 2 years, and we're talking almost 1,800 snaps between the 2 seasons here. So pretty good pass blocker, pretty decent run blocking grades. Christian Jones might be a guy that comes in and does some nice things. Otherwise, we waited for Walter Roos. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but he was a 3-year starter at the left tackle position. Really strong pass blocking grade. No sacks allowed last year. This looks like something that makes sense for the Packers here. So I'm gonna grab our potential left tackle here, Walter Roos, and give some competition for Rasheed Walker. So we'll move on to the 5th round. And I mean, I got most of what I wanted. We can continue to add some depth here to some positions here. We're picking at 203. They're giving the Ohio State running back the best grade. Myles Murphy, another defensive lineman here. This is a guy that plays mostly in the B gap here. So I don't know if we want to get someone that's just one thing. I like kind of spreading it out. We could look at the safeties again. Trey Taylor here out of Air Force, small school, but highly productive player for 3 straight seasons. This looks pretty interesting. He plays a lot of different positions too, box, deep, and slot. He improved each year, so I'd like to see that. Overall, run defense looks decent. I like the 73 grade and the really good pass coverage grade. Missed tackle rate's a little high, forced incompletion rate's nice, and the average depth of run tackle 4.8. First look, 6 foot 210. That sounds kind of like what the Packers look for size-wise here. So I'm open to adding another safety if we needed one. Brandon Coleman, the tackle out of TCU, played poorly last year. Left tackle, left guard. Looks like 2022 was his best season. Didn't give up any sacks, and he ranked pretty poorly here. But maybe if we wanted another tackle for depth, that one makes a little bit of sense. I'm not opposed to grabbing a wide receiver or another running back, honestly, here. If we wanted to grab Mayan Williams here, a guy that doesn't really have a lot of numbers and stats, but he could just be a really nice depth piece, be our RB3 for a little bit. Maybe a backup center. This is a guy here who played a lot of center, left guard, and right guard. This is what I like to see. I like to see versatility. This is a guy that, started primarily as a center in 2023, but you look at the numbers there, he played left guard, center, and right guard for a lot of snaps in 2022 and 2021. So I think this is probably, whenever I see that, I'm like, you know what, I really like that. And it's NC State. I'm very curious on the input from the new defensive coordinator on anything from the ACC. So I'm going to go with Dylan McMahon here. Not the best graded player, but Packers just always seem to swing and hit at offensive lineman positions in these rounds. So we do have a comp pick in the 6th round here, pick number 217. Zakhari Franklin, Mississippi. I like Ole Miss wide receivers. I'm not sure what happened last year. He put up 1,000-yard seasons in the first 2 seasons of his career, though. These are elite numbers, 80 and 93 receptions. If we wanted to add somebody this late, 6'1", 185, this looks like a fun deep threat of a receiver. Although 12 and 12 yards per catch, he's not like a super deep threat kind of guy. But I kind of like what I'm seeing. He's not a slot player. He's mostly wide. But 93 and 80 receptions, freshman year, 80 reception. Like, I don't know what happened in his seniors or his junior year. So I want to look into that. But this is a really good profile here. You put up 80 and 1,000 in your freshman season with 12 touchdowns. Whew, the Packers might be interested here. I'm going to grab Zakhari Franklin here and just to see what happens. We do have one more pick in the 6th round. We can kind of go anywhere we want. I don't want to go running back, tight end. Let's look at the linebacker here, Darius Muaso. Box linebacker, some slot, some D-line. Really good season last year. Some coverage snaps, run defense snaps. This is a versatile player here. He can play both the run and the pass pretty well. I like that coverage grade as well. A little bit of a missed tackle problem, but this looks like a guy that could maybe come in and be special teams, backup linebacker. So we'll grab another UCLA player here. And then I think we just have one pick in the 7th round, and we'll finish off the draft here. Brian Ugwu, Miami, Ohio edge rusher. That sounds like a fun name here. Lines up over the tackle, outside the tackle. I like that. 12 sacks the last couple seasons. Good pass rush grade, decent run grade defensively. A lot of hurries. 46 hurries last year. That's a good amount of hurries per game. So Ugwu, maybe we end with an edge rusher here. I tried to grab as many things as I possibly could here. Delmar Glaze, a 3-year left. He's got experience, left tackle and right tackle. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to grab another offensive tackle and see what we can do, and hopefully just continue to stack up depth here. So there we go. There is my first Packers full 7-round mock draft. Let's see how PFF likes my draft. We started off with Byron Murphy, the defensive lineman out of Texas. Tyler Nubin, Minnesota, the starting safety potentially for the Packers in 2024. Jonathan Brooks, running back, round 2. We came in round 3 with 2 picks. We ended up with Christian Mahogany out of Boston College, a potential starting right guard for us, and then Jarian Jones, a potential 2-3 cornerback. And I don't know what's going on with Eric Stokes. I want to just kind of double down on corner and make sure we have someone that could be a number 2, number 3 style for us. We grabbed the edge rusher, Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA, Walter Rouse out of Oklahoma, a potential left tackle, starting left tackle, Dylan McMahon, a potential interior offensive lineman here. So I grabbed 4 offensive linemen in this draft just because the bodies were warm. So super interested in this Zakhari Franklin. I have to look up and see what happened in 2023 with his injury, but first 2 seasons of his career at Ole Miss, he was very productive. Darius Muasau, UCLA linebacker, and Delmar Glaze, another tackle. So they're giving me a B, and it wasn't my perfect draft. I drafted 4 offensive linemen. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. This was just a lot of fun. It's my first one, and I look forward to hanging out and doing another one of these. I think mid-February we'll do another one. So check back with me then. Let me know your comments. Should I have taken a tackle earlier? Should I have taken a safety with the first pick? Let me know what you guys are thinking. What positions do you want the Packers to draft? What positions do you not want us to draft? Overall, I think I answered most of our needs, although I could have maybe done a little bit better job. So either way, we had fun. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new. We'll see you in a future video. Peace.